Hi, this is On Imagination, and welcome to the Ethical Asshole. I'm your host, the Salty Bitch. We are talking about the 4 standards and criteria of the spectrum of mental health. This is something I just got off my last video, and I was like, "Oh, I noticed something else here." And I love looking at the common denominators and I love common denominators because as soon as you get a common denominator, 3 to 4 points, data points, you end up with the ability to assess grouping and make equational assessments. I absolutely love this. So I found another one and I was like, oh my God, I got to share this one. So in my last video, I gave you this. This is like one of my graphs. I've got the Nick from Fear the Walking Dead as an example of so unhealthy that he can't hide it. And then I use Klaus from the Umbrella Academy, where he can hide it if you don't know him, but then when he's an acquaintance, you can tell he's not healthy. And then you've got your empaths, light workers, quote unquote. And then these are the people who are in the oasis. And the oasis is this range where they're in the healing stage. And the fact that these are the people who will go, oh, I'm healing. Oh, but I'm healthy. There's no such thing as being healthy and also healing. If you are healing, you are not healthy by definition, which is why it's called the oasis, is because it's a delusion. And then you have the healthy people who are over here in this category. And these are the people who are healthy, who are not healing because they're healthy. So one of the things that I noticed, this is it right here, is the criteria. So when you have the people who are in the first stage, this is the Nick stage. These are the people who are so mentally unhealthy. They are in the no criteria. It's an accept all. All are welcome is their mentality. And the reason why, this is one of the things I love about the psychology of people, is the reason why is because that's what they want. They're projecting it. So it's very much I wish just anybody would welcome me. I want a community where all are welcome. Therefore, all are welcome. So they have this attitude of all are welcome. And there's no criteria. As a result, literally everyone who doesn't want them, and that's the people who are struggling with addiction. These are the people who are so mentally ill that they cannot hide it. That's where they fall to. The next group is the people, it's group 2, it's the cloud stage. It's the people who are like, you're welcome so long as you're healing. If you're not even working on yourself, then don't come around me. And that's how you tell that group of people. They're the ones who say, I don't care as long as you're healing. You can be anywhere in the healing process, but you'd better be working on yourself. And that's where they fall. This is their group. That's the Klaus group. And these are the people who will accept you only if you're working on yourself. You're either healed or you're healing. But if you're not even trying, they will close that door on you, which is why the people who are not healing fall into that last group of will accept whomever. And really what they're accepting is the people who are not healing. These are inactive healers, inactive, mentally unhealthy. The next group is your empath light worker group, where their criteria is happy and optimistic. And this is where it gets interesting, is because they are cherry picking and highly selective, making sure that, well, the best environment for my healing needs to be happy and optimistic. So it doesn't matter. And they won't, some of them will add authentic in there. Some of them will, but at the same time, that's where I see a lot of hypocrisy. And what ends up happening is they do a massive, just, you have to be optimistic. What I saw a lot of when I was there was fake people who were hypocritical, people who put on a good face because they knew if you weren't happy, you were going to be rejected. That was so common in that community, where you better show up with a happy face or not show up at all. And if you showed up without a happy face, that's your fair weather friend. If you showed up unhappy, then you would have no friends. The minute you were anything less than perfect and pleasant, they're not wanted. And it's because, well, I can't have that around me. And that's really their priority, is you have to be optimistic. Now, when you're healthy, it changes to authentic and healthy. You can't be in the healing journey. If you're in the healing journey, you really need to be taking care of you. You should not have friends. You really need to be healing. And that's it right there. And then there was that stage where it was like, well, they still need a community. Yes, that's why we have group therapy. That's why we have group activity for those people. But once you're healthy, you realize, and this is very much we literally disintegrates us. And it's every group is this way. And this is not wrong. This is not unethical. This is human nature. It's self-preservation. It's I've graduated from that group. I need to not regress. So I need to make sure I don't regress. So it's actually self-preservation by avoiding regression. And once you're there, it's a completely different mindset. So it's now you have to be healthy and authentic. If you can't pull off authentic and healthy, then you're not healthy. And that's really the mindset when you get into the final stage is, and what I love about it is people in this group don't have a mentality of, oh, you're healing, everyone's healing. Well, no, there's a few of us who aren't healthy. We are healthy, so we're not in the healing work. And one of the things I noticed when that happened was the conversations stopped being about mental health. This was my favorite part about this. And I've been here for about a year now, and I was very much there for a year. And this was one of the things that I had to learn socially, because I had solidified myself, but I hadn't learned social skills. I was still working on that. And it took me about a year, 8 months to evolve, to grow my social skills on par with my mental health. So the last 8 months, I've been mentally healthy. And I've been around an entire group of people telling me, oh, no, you're healing. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I don't have this problem. And I did feel like I was constantly defending myself against them because they kept trying to tell me that, oh, you're healing. No, I'm not. Like, it's done. And they couldn't believe it. They're like, well, that's a lifelong process. No, it's not. It's called the stages of healing. You can Google it online. The last stages of healing are ABC. It's when you master self-regulation so much that you are good. You're fine. You're stable. And then it becomes so subconscious mind governed that you don't even think about it. Oh, that's where my AIDNS has been for the last 8 years. The AIDNS is my prosthetic subconscious mind. So I'm able to, like, I don't think about it anymore. The first 3 months, I was like tweaking it every day. And then I stopped tweaking it because it's right where it needs to be. And I noticed my anger was getting more and more. And when you see, and this is a beautiful graph, is you'll be, so you'll heal. Let's call it a healing milestone. And you'll jump up, you'll elevate, and then you'll be euphoric. You'll be fantastic. This is the growth. So I'm going to show you this here in a minute. And then your anger will steadily increase. And I'm going to show you something. And then you'll level up. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. This is how it goes. And what you're doing, I'm going to write this down here. So you're going to have point A, you're going to have point B, you're going to have point C, and then you're going to have point A, which is D. All right, so this is what we've got. And what this is, okay, there you go. So what this is when you're looking at point A, you've got the healing milestone. And what's happening at the healing milestone is you've reached that point and it immediately shoots you up. You've immediately leveled up. It is literally within a matter of minutes. It is instantaneous. I cannot express that to you enough. It is instant when it happens. When it happens, immediately, everything is black and white. You've leveled up. And then you're going to have about 3 days of normalizing. And this normalizing stage is when you start to realize that people are suddenly very different. Right here, normalizing. And what I noticed in this stage was people suddenly who were previously logical were suddenly not logical. People who I was getting along with just fine, suddenly I wasn't getting along with them. Suddenly it's like my first thought was, wow, they've deteriorated. And then it's like, oh, they've not deteriorated. I elevated. And then it was a realization then I could see narcissistic traits. And one of the persons I was hanging around with, I found 4 narcissistic traits in him. And I was like, okay, I need to really put myself distant. And then you're going to go through stage B. And stage B is pure euphoria. This is when you realize that you're in your new stage of group. Let me see if I can't get the lights off of that. So you're in your new stage right here. And this is where you're normalizing and you're great. Now, if you're in the wrong group, you're going to have an acceleration of anger. And the reason why in group C is because you're not self-regulating and you're not among your right people. If you're if you're in the right group of people for you, that won't happen. That's actually how you figure that out. Is your anger, when the anger increases, it's telling you you are not self-regulating. So you go back to the, okay, why am I not self-regulating? Where are you not fixing it? And that's really where you need to be honest with yourself. And the thing with being honest with yourself, I could do I need to do a whole video on just being honest with yourself. Let me do it actually right now, because this is it. Self-honesty is vital to this process. Self-honesty is being vulnerable with you. Yeah, being vulnerable with yourself. It is knowing when you've hit a core fear versus a bullshit fear. A bullshit fear is an excuse. Another way of saying excuse is actually a red herring. It's when your subconscious mind is trying to distract you from the real problem. So instead of actually addressing the fear, the subconscious mind will throw a bunch of crap at you. And this is where you say, you need to get real with yourself. You've probably heard of that phrase. You need to get real with yourself. And what you are doing in that process is you are facing off with you. And there's three parts of you that this is going to take place with. There's the conscious awareness. And that is you consciously asking these questions. There's the bullshit of the subconscious mind. I love you. But there's the bullshit of the subconscious mind. And that's the red herring. That's the BS. And then there's the identity. What you want. And it's your wants plus your vulnerable honesty has to be greater than the pain, the expected pain. No, I'm going to clarify the fear of the expected pain, because the real pain is not doing what you want. The real pain is not doing what you want. The fear of expected pain the next part of that, because it's not just the fear of the expected pain, it's the realization, nope, wrong word. It's the acceptance. Of your true loss. Now, I just said the word realization. And I got a feeling inside of me that just screamed. It was a feeling of discomfort. That's called cognitive dissonance. That told me right away that I had used the wrong word. And so I knew that I needed a better word. So when I said acceptance, I felt warmth in my chest. That warmth is called relief, which is the feeling of logic. It is the same feeling of love. They're identical. Cognitive dissonance is the feeling of lie and not love. And when you understand those two feelings, it's the ability to know when you are telling the truth or not. Really, it is there discomfort, which is cognitive dissonance, or is there warmth, relief, logic, love, those four emotions? And because the word acceptance, oh, it feels like a buzzing glow. Really, it's a buzzing glow. The feeling of truth is the same feeling as logic and the same feeling as love. They're all the same emotion, which is how I know that love and logic and truth are all the same thing, is because they feel the exact same thing. So it's acceptance of your true loss. So it's your priority. It's about what you are going to lose. And if you lose it, changes are going to be required. So you have that fear of pain being accepted and the acceptance of, or expected, and also the acceptance of your true loss. So it's actually a delay or avoidance in the grief process. That's really what it is. You are delaying the grief process, which would lead to change. And this is where honesty and self-honesty, self-dishonesty, this is where it all sits. Is your wants and your vulnerable honesty have to be valued and wanted more than the fear of paying expected and the acceptance of your true loss. Now, for me, I've learned that the real paying is not getting what you want, and the real paying is not being honest. So real paying is lies and not as unrealized desire. Those are the only paying in the world, is lies and not getting what you want. That's it. Those are the only two things in the world that actually hurt you, is you not getting what you want and lies. Nothing else hurts you. Those are it. And if you are not being vulnerably honest, you're lying, which is what your paying really is. The fear of paying expected, this is something I learned a long time ago, is there's actually no pain with the fear, because, well, as long as you get what you want and you're honest, that's fine. Can you have what you want? Well, now you're looking at the work it's going to take to get what you want. And that is really what you need to deal with, is the work that it's going to take to get what you want. And that is where a lot of things lead to, can you get what you want? This is the sequence. This is all the sequence right here. Can you get what you want? Can you keep it? Or did you already lose something that you wanted and you haven't gone through the process of the grief and the change and the acceptance of it? So now you're dealing with the delay or the avoidance of processing your grief. And in addition to that, you need to accept your true loss. So whenever you are not honest with yourself, what really is going on is you've got this standoff, this massive standoff versus of your lies and desires. Well, actually, it'd be your truth and your desires versus I want to say it's the realization of lies. The realization of lies and the acceptance of loss. It's the grief process. It's absolutely the grief process. So that when you finally get to that point, and this is it right here, is what are you afraid of losing? What are you afraid of acknowledging? What are you afraid of giving up? What are you afraid of? And what we have is you've got that point of origin, and your origin is the foundation. It's the common denominator of all of you. And if you have this origin and you have not made amends with this origin, it's going to completely affect everything else. This right here is everything, this origin. And if you have built a dependent origin, you're not going to be able to go anywhere. You're going to require a whole lot of work, a whole lot of everything in place of, because your origin is actually not an origin. You've taken your origin and you've literally built it on sand. It's a house of cards built on sand. And this is where you really need to make sure that your origin is built on something solid. Now, the more solid your origin, that leads you to confidence, that leads you to security. That is absolutely your security. Yeah, this is nice. I had a friendship for over 22 years. And the fact that this friendship developed at my height of my mental illness is a clue. And in 2020, 1 month after my husband threw me out because I was too old to breed, 1 month later, this person ended our friendship. And I tried connecting with her again in 2022. It did not work. She again said, don't ever contact me. And then she came back to me again recently. It was about 6 months ago. It's about 6 months ago. March of 2024. And since then I've healed. I've done a lot of growing and a lot of healing, and she's in the process of, she's got to work out her stuff. And I'm healed, she's not. So I'm practicing the boundaries and I'm doing what I need to do on my end of it. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking things like, you've healed, Anna. And I'm like, yeah, I know I've healed. Is it realistic for you to have a friendship with this person who was the same friendship you were attempting to have when you were mentally ill, had all these problems? And I was very consciously aware of it. I was very, very aware of it. So I kept a defense up. I kept myself and from March until June, things were going fantastic. And sure enough, it was around May. So we had about 2 months, 2 to 3 months. And that's always, but psychology runs on 3 months. Oh my God. Psychology runs on 3 months. So predictably, it's painful. It's almost boring. All psychology runs on 3 months. It takes 3 months to learn a language, 3 months to pick up a new language, 3 months to have a problem with a relationship, 3 months for insecurities, and everything in psychology runs around the 3-month mark. So sure enough, at the 3-month, and I knew this. So I went into the friendship in March knowing the 3-month mark. So I'm like, let's not get attached or do anything until we at least hit the 1-year mark and look out for things around the 3 months. So sure enough, by May, June, we started to get into some conflict. The same conflict came up. Only this time I was healthy, I was educated, and now I was aware. And I realized what it was. I am a scientist whose entire core runs on logic. She is a non-scientist who runs on nonsense. Nonsense is the opposite of logic. And she is 100% averse to logic, aggressively so. And she weaponizes logic, which is her abuse. And there was one day, there was confrontation, things would diffuse, separate, walk away. And I noticed my anger and my stress just going through the roof, right back. And I noticed it, I monitored it, I tracked it, I had a graph and everything. And sure enough, it finally escalated to the point where we were in this discussion. I had said something that was completely on topic and just platonic. And she immediately flipped it around and turned it into a racist issue. And that was so irrelevant to the conversation. And it's something she needs to do the work. It's not my problem. And when I tried, she wanted to talk about it. We went through it. She asked me questions. I'm like, all right, fine, let's just drop this, and I'll just let's just drop the wall, and let's just talk about this. So I decided to, because I cared for her, and I thought, and this is the logical thought. Well, a lot of people think this: if you're my friend, then you'll listen. That is not true. That is not true. And this has been a topic that comes up over and over again: is if you are my friend, then you will listen. No, first of all, if you are saying that, that is a narcissist if then clause. If you are making conditions, then that's narcissist tactic. And I knew that. So I went ahead and said, all right, let's dive into this. So I dove into it. And I'm not going to sit there and I won't eggshell walk around this topic. She's black, I'm white. I don't give a shit. I never have. I have suffered from racism because I was an Irish woman living in an English home, and I wasn't the right white. I cannot begin to explain the amount of racism and bullshit I have experienced from my own father because I wasn't the right fucking white. It is my problem. I dealt with it. It's my problem. I will talk about it when I'm talking about psychology. It is not something that I need to talk about really with anybody. I have talked about it with my mother. My mother and I actually last week spent a whole lot of time crying together over this type of abuse. I have experienced racism. It's fucking dirty. I have also experienced my dear, dear friends, Latino and also black, abused by disgusting, horrible white people. It's a topic I fucking hate. And she wants to talk to me about her racism and her problems. I don't talk to her about the racism I've experienced. I don't believe that that's healthy because I believe it is called codependent problem solving. I don't do that shit because that's not healthy. So because I refuse to be available for codependent problem solving, it was she wanted to talk about it. She did the whole, if you're my friend, then you'll be there for me. She wasn't going through any kind of a problem. She had her own logic that she needed to sort out. However, she didn't have the logical comprehension to sort it out because she actually hates logic and she thinks it's nonsense. So she can't figure out her problems logically because she has refused logic, which is in itself illogical. I don't talk to people like that. I'm just like, there's a wall, there's a boundary. When I recognized this, I pulled away. But prior to pulling away, she badgered me, nagged, and I gave her, it was back and forth, logic. It got heated and heated. She kept pushing me. And finally I broke. It was the first time in 4 years I screamed. I never scream. It was the first time in 4 years I screamed. And when I started screaming, I noticed how calm she got, as if it was a sedative. And I went, oh. And suddenly I saw every fight we'd ever had prior, all the 20 years, where she is the kind of person who does for 20 years. And she knows she does this. She's admitted she does this. She explains she does it, that she does not feel safe unless someone is screaming around her. So she will deliberately antagonize people to get them screaming so she'll feel safe instead of dealing with her problems. I don't do this shit anymore. So after this massive blowout, this is in June, I immediately pulled way back. I'm like, nope, pulled way back. So far back. And she approached me again, wanting to do the codependent problem solving. And I'm like, no, I don't participate in that. And then she did it again today or yesterday, a few days ago. And I'm like, I don't participate in that. I will not participate in it. And I have another person. It's reciprocity. Friendship is reciprocity of nourishment. Friendship is the reciprocity of nourishment. It's when somebody gives you nourishment, you receive it and you return it. In simplicity, there is truth. Newton. I have been trying to figure out what friendship is all of my life. All of my life. Until now, I finally have it. It is the reciprocity of nourishment. If you do not have the reciprocity of nourishment, you do not have a friend. That's something that is going to take time. It's not something you can figure out in a day. You certainly can't do it in a 10-minute conversation. You can't do it in 5 minutes. You can't do it with strangers. It's not just acceptance. It's not. That's what she told me it was. It's being vulnerable and being accepted. That's family. Being vulnerable and accepted anyway is family. But reciprocity of nourishment is friendship. And what I did over the last few days, once I had my next elevation of growth, was a massive step back to figure out, is this really a nourishing situation for me? And this was a beautiful it was a what's the word I'm looking for? A metric. It was a beautiful defined metric that I had available to myself that I could say, oh, this is not X, therefore it is not a healthy or a nourishing situation. And it literally was a graph that I built that defined, is it nourishing you or is it not nourishing you? And there's nothing else really to it. Either it's nourishing you or it's not. And if it's not nourishing you, then it is not. Oh, here it is. This is exactly it. Yeah, I have my, is it nourishing or isn't it? And if it's not nourishing for you, then it's definitely not the situation for you. It has to be nourishing. And this is something we are not thinking about. We are not thinking in terms of, is this nourishing me? Is this relaxing me? We are not thinking like this. And this is the problem. We really need to be thinking about this. If it is not relaxing for you, if it is not nourishing for you, then you should not be doing this. You should not be subjecting yourself to it. And there is I'm going to say the word regulation, and I know that's not the right word. It's a metric. It's taking a temperature. People are not taught how to take a relationship's temperature or a person's temperature without diving into the deep end. It's like this. You walk up to a swimming pool and you can either dip your toe in to check to see if it's cold or hot, well, warm, or you can jump into the pool. And as fun as that is in a swimming pool, you should not be doing that in a relationship or a friendship or in anything. And this is where, and this is really where I wasn't getting, this is the core of a lot of my frustration is I do a lot of nourishing of other people. And do I get joy out of it? Well, of course I do. That's why I do it. Do I need it? No, I need my writing. I get joy out of my writing. And I love exploratory dialogue. And if somebody else can take my words and I give them the words, this is really the core of who I am. This is me. I love words. I love words like you would not believe. There is no one in the world who loves words more than words are my little bitch, and I am their little bitch. And we have this gorgeous relationship happening with words. I love words. I love words so much that I do things like ancient Greek and Old Norse, Gaelic, and Irish. I love words. And I'm starting to do German now, and I'm like, oh my God, I love words. Words are beautiful, and they're logic. I love words. And I write them all day. And I realized a long time ago that I am really fucking good at words. A lot of people are not. And I'll talk to people and they'll hear the words coming out of my mouth and they'll be like, oh my God, I've needed these words. Oh my God, that's how, and I'm like, I have to talk. I have to talk. I have to have this relationship with words. It's a whole thing. Like it's borderline intimate and inappropriate for children. It's that level. And at the same time, I'm going, if I can say something that helps people understand, then I would call that success. That to me is success. And it's not about teaching. It's not a, I fucking hate teaching because teaching is a misnomer. It's a logical fallacy. It's deceptive because I'm not the one who's teaching you. You are teaching you. What's really going on is your mistakes is what teaches you. Scientific method teaches you. So I have a lot of things like that where I'm looking at it going, yeah, to say a person is a teacher is to draw the attention egotistically away from what's really doing the teaching. Because I'm not inside of your mind walking you through the, oh, okay, sometimes I am inside literally someone's subconscious mind, literally walking through them in an entire process because I know how to do that. But at the end of the day, it's you who's doing it. It's you. And I will not compromise a person's self-authority with an ego of teaching. So I really hate the word teacher. But I love giving people words. I love giving people words. And I'm not looking to be understood. I need to understand. We all need to understand ourselves. The only one who you need to ever understand is yourself. If you feel that you need to be understood by other people, it's because you do not understand yourself and you are projecting your lack of understanding onto other people. And you have a lot of work to do with words and logic because you don't understand you. And now we're back to the codependent problem solving. So it's really, really important that you understand when you don't understand, when you need to be understood. You actually need to be seen. You need someone to know you. And when you are dealing with being visible, what you are really doing is being vulnerable with someone, and you're being authentic with someone, which you cannot do if you are not honest with yourself. And if you don't understand, it's because you don't have logic or the right words, which is logic, to form a proper logical proof inside of your mind to actually know what's going on. Two different things. So is your problem a lack of logic, logical comprehension, or is your problem a lack of visible, vulnerable authenticity with others? Do you need to share yourself with others? Now, we all have to share ourselves with others. We do. We are social. We have to share ourselves with others. We have to be seen and we have to be known. So in order to know, you have to have the right words with which to communicate. I am putting a belly button ring back inside my belly button, and I'm trying to do that without looking at it. There we go. So it is very much knowing that you know and also being visible at the same time while you build up your own authenticity so that you can go through the stages, so that you can go through the process of knowing who you are, understanding who you are, and then sharing it with other people. But if you don't even know what parts of you to share, this is really deep. So let me try and break this down to you in a different way. When you're talking about knowing who you are and being deep with yourself, it's asking the question, what parts of me do I have to share? Oh, I'll tell you what that is. Your dreams. You have to share your dreams with other people. You have to share your journey with other people. All right, just a minute. I'm going to take all of my attention away from you for just a minute because I am at a point where I'm sick and tired of trying to align the physics of this little screw. There we go. And it would have been over in like 2 seconds if I had just looked down. All right, so what we're doing is we are articulating very precisely that part of the self where you are defined in your story, in your dreams, in your beliefs. Oh no, I'm getting down to it. I'm getting down to it because I can feel it. I have finally fleshed out all of this. I'm finally understanding where my people are. I'm finally understanding all of this, and now I can reverse engineer it and articulate it. Finally, I'm going to stop using loose leaf paper because I want to keep this in my notebook. So what we are looking at is, I'm asking the question, what is the part of myself that I want everyone to know about, the vulnerable part of me? What is the part of me that has to be seen in order for me to feel seen? You know, that's a really good question for myself, because I've written a fucking book all about me and all of my shit trauma. I did not feel seen. It's truth. It's my perspective. It was sharing my perspective of truth. Truth doesn't stop. It's the same. You can have a perspective of truth, but that doesn't change what the truth is. The truth is. Now, you can have a perspective of truth, or you can have a perspective of truth, or you can have a perspective of truth, or you can have a perspective of truth, but truth is truth. Now, some people aren't even looking at truth, and they're giving you your perspective, and you're going, what the fuck are you talking about? Because their back is turned to truth, and they're going, I'm going to tell you my perspective of truth, but you're not even looking at it. I know these people. I hated these people. I got away from these people, and my stress went way down. If you're not even looking at truth, don't give me your perspective of truth. You got to be looking at truth in order to have a perspective of truth. And I am standing like, truth and I are like this. And I have a big stick shoved up my ass called truth. And that's that's how fucking close I am with truth. Like, if I turn my back, oh no, that hurts. All right, I'm gonna look right at her. It's like staring at the sun all the time. That's what it feels like. And my God, do we have to know our perspective of truth? We have to share our perspective of truth with others, because that is how we are relatable to others. And that, it's a sequence. Of course it's a sequence. The people you let in your life will either nourish you toward truth, or they will pull you away from it. And if you cannot be nourished toward truth, then you will not be able to find your relativity to it, to even tell it to others, so you can have relatability to others. This is why it's so fucking important to know truth, is because the truth is, regardless of what you think, truth is. But if you don't know how to measure yourself in relativity to truth, hell, if you don't know how to measure yourself in relativity to anything, oh, you're fucked. You're fucked. How do you measure yourself in relativity to anything? Well, you define X, and I call mine X truth. And well, then it's literally finding all the common denominators that fit X, and then you figure out your ratio to X. Okay, I gotta let's break this down even further. You define X. So truth is logic. Truth is love. Love is nourishing growth. Truth is where there are no lies. It's when you know. It's when you have confidence. So that when you make a choice, you know that it's true. You know that it's healthy. You know that it will nourish you. And when you talk about the truth, you'll be nourished. Because you know what it is. So when I talk about love, I'm talking about truth. I'm talking about being nourished. So when I'm talking to somebody and I'm saying things like, yeah, I've been writing my book, I absolutely love it. I know that I am saying it nourishes me. That's why I do it. And when somebody says something to me like, yeah, I'm having a lousy day, I've been trying to do this job and it's draining me, I can think, well, they're doing a job that they don't love. That's why it's draining them. Well, why don't you get another job? Now we are doing codependent problem solving. And that's when they, well, and then they start telling me bullshit, excuses, as if that justifies doing something that doesn't nourish you. And when you know what truth is, that love is nourishing you, the value of being nourished, why it's so important to be nourished, why the reciprocity of nourishment is so vital. Because now we're talking about things like resource partitioning. And now we're talking about scarcity. We don't want to go down that road. Now you're talking about abundance. And my life is very simple, very easy, because I have all of this stuff figured out. In fact, the more I realized it, the more I figured out, the more I understood truth and was able to define everything based off of truth. And it's simple. It works like this. Does this nourish me? Yes, good. It's truth. Does it nourish me? Does it nourish me? That's really all there is. Is love something that nourishes me? Yes. Oh, yes, it does. If it doesn't nourish you, then what are you doing? If it doesn't nourish you, then you're going to be malnourished. It's going to disintegrate you. You're going to have resource partitioning, and then you'll have cell apoptosis. And you don't want that because that's where cancer comes from. Literally. So then what you do with all of these little statements is every one of them, you count them up. How many do you have? Now, here's the question. How many of them are good? How many of them are bad? Are the majority of them negative? Are the majority of them uncomfortable? Are the majority of them lousy? Or are the majority of them good? And here's the thing. This is what I noticed. As soon as I was able to define truth as truth is love, and love is nourishing growth, and truth is the state of being completely and without lie, and lie is a lack of logic, is logical fallacy. So that when I have pure logic, I have pure truth, which gives me love because it's nourishing me for growth, which is why I have relief when something makes sense, because it's nourishing me, because truth and logic are love. So when all of this stuff keeps coming together, I'm going, wow, I know what love is. Now I can look at the people in my life because now I know what love is. All right. Does this person love me? No, they're going to tell you they love you. Of course they are. They're liars. What about the truth people? The truth people will also tell you that they love you. But so will the liars. So now you got a problem. How do you sort out the liars? Now, this is where it's really important to know what the truth is. Because once you know what the truth is, you can see the liars. Well, it's simple. Do they nourish you? Because if they don't nourish you, they're lying. They'll sit there and go, oh, I'm your friend. Are you? Because there's no nourishing reciprocity. And this is really where it was a massive thing for me. This is it right here. You see, when I do these videos, I'm doing them for me because I'm working through something. It's called exploratory dialogue. And it's the ability to literally reverse engineer all of this stuff for me so I can sit down, write it all out in documentation so I can later analyze it. It's literally my research lab. So then I can take all of that data, analyze it, organize it, and it's available for a free course. So it's a win-win. It's really awesome. And it allows me then to go, well, now I understand that. And now I'm going to write a book about it. So now I get to write. So this is my writing research. You see how this is very beneficial for me. So now it's nourishing me. Now, if it doubly so nourishes you, great, win-win. But I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. So I have this thing all coming together. And then I have somebody who says to me that they're my friend. Well, here's the question. Am I being nourished by you? Now, if they come to me and they're getting all this nourishment from me, which I get a lot from people is, oh, talking to you gives me nourishment. Great. But that's not the question, because a lot of people tell me that. Are you nourishing me? A lot of people don't nourish me. They just don't. And the reason why, it took me a long time to figure this out. The reason why people cannot nourish me is because of the amount of knowledge that I have, and because I know how to nourish myself. I know exactly how to nourish myself. I had to learn how to do it. I teach other people how to nourish themselves because I got math. And I'm sitting here looking at it, analyzing things like this, going, can I really call this a relationship if there's actually no reciprocity of nourishment going on? So I'll talk to somebody and they'll take and they'll take and they'll take. And I'm going, okay. But then if you're just going to take from me, what am I getting from it? Like, I can just go do a YouTube channel, have the exact same conversation on YouTube, reverse analyze all of it, and I'm done, which is why I hate repeating myself. It's because it doesn't give me anything. And which is why I'm a writer and not a teacher. So I'm looking at this going, you call me your friend, but there's no reciprocity of nourishment. So no, you're not my friend. You might be my friend because you're getting the nourishment, but I'm not getting anything from you, which is okay. But then why am I using up my resources on you? Now we're getting into economics. And when you look at the gorgeous exchange and balance of karma, of give and take, if you are giving and giving and giving and not getting anything back, that's not self-preservation at work. There's a problem. You're going to have an imbalance. So it's up to you to determine, is this nourishing me? Should I give this my attention? Is it nourishing me? Because if it's not nourishing you, you really should not be doing it because it's disintegrating you. It's malnourishment. So now I'm sitting here going, and here's the other thing. I've got this job that I'm doing. I've got so many projects. I got networking that I'm doing. I got meetings, and I'm looking at all of this going, I don't have time to give 8 billion people individual attention. That's going to drain me. So I'll talk to one person and it drains me. I talk to another person and it drains me. And I'm at a point where I'm going, so I limit my access. I don't allow people into my inner circle unless they reciprocate. So, and it's very much a simple tit for tat. Oh, I hate tit for tat. It's equal footing. It's that reciprocation of human circuitry. And because I require a very specific type of nourishment, it's not, and this is it right here, this is where the codependency gets confused with nourishment. And here it is right here. It's codependent if you aren't nourished unless they're giving you attention. Oh, that's really it right there. If you are not getting their attention, something doesn't feel logically correct, and I'm trying to figure out where the logical fallacy is. So give me a minute, because something doesn't feel right in all of that, and I'm trying to figure out where. I'm at the edge of my research, and when I'm at the edge of my research, I'll hit something with logical fallacy. I'll say the wrong word, and then I'll come to a screeching halt. Oh, that's the wrong word. So then I have to go through my feelings and find the right word to plug it in. And until I do, I can't go further with my research. Okay, so the question is, what is the difference between codependency? Well, codependency is disintegration. But let's ask the question. What is the difference between codependency and nourishing reciprocity? Well, one is growth, the other is not. Both have to grow. Both have to be better people. You know, that's it right there. That's really it. That's really it. I am not a better person when I talk to this friend I've had for 22 years. I'm not a better person when I talk to her. I am a worse person when I talk to her. And that's really it. I can see where it's like a transition where I see the sequence. God, I love math. Yeah, I can see the sequence now. So it starts off with, you've got nourishing growth on one side, the reciprocity. And in the reciprocity section, it's definitely growth, and I am a better person because of it. I can feel myself growing. I can feel myself becoming a better person. And it's basically a role model. Oh, it really is. There's definitely a role model relationship happening there. Definitely. Now there is no role model in this codependency relationship. There's no role model. There was no role model. There might be traits that you wish you had, but are you aspiring to become and adopt those traits, or are you just trying to possess them? But also, they don't make you a better person. And that's it right there. They don't make you a better person. And that's it. So I would say it's definitely these two prerequisites for it to be codependency. Is one, they don't make you another person, but prior to that is it's not nourishing. So you're not nourished, and they don't make you a better person. Now I can see where the emotional prosthetic would come in for that. And she and I were each other's emotional prosthetic. And I don't tolerate that anymore. Not at all. Now that I'm aware of it, I will not affiliate myself with emotional prosthetics. I will not allow people to use me in place of them dealing with their issue. And that's where the boundary comes in. And whenever I use a boundary on her, she just shuts down. And I'm like, It's called a boundary." And in fact, that's what happened again today. I used a boundary on her, and she was like, "This isn't a friendship." It's called a boundary. So now I can see her true self. She's not a friend because we do not have that reciprocal nourishment. Defining these words allows you to really sit back when you're at a party and some dude comes up to you and says, "Oh, we're friends now," and you've known each other for 5 minutes. It's no, we are not friends. We've known each other for 5 minutes. You are a stranger, and there's no nourishment happening here. Like, there's no reciprocity. I don't know you. You may have gotten a surge of adrenaline over joy for connecting with someone with relatability, which is a really huge red flag that you have emotional problems. But it's not a friendship. If someone drops the F word in the first 5 minutes of a relationship or a friendship, there's a problem. And you should not be thinking about that word until you're about 3 months, maybe more in. And this is where I'm very like, when is it okay to use the word friend? And this is where I like friend training wheels. It's like, well, let's do friendship training wheels. Let's see if it's a good fit for us first. Let's do a friendship training wheel. I'm going to be using this word a lot, friendship training wheels. It's the training wheel, because I don't know. I have to go through this process to see if it's a good fit. I remember this one person, started talking to him about 6 months ago. And, I was myself. I was just talking. I was just being myself. And I'd said something, and he paused and, well, what is that supposed to mean? Those were the words. And I went, oh, there it is, red flag. And it's the only red flag I got from him. And then from there, I haven't seen it. But it's definitely like watching for that and seeing where that insecurity is. It's like, how healthy are you? And it's not are you working on yourself? You're working on yourself. I don't want to start a relationship or a friendship with someone while they're in their healing process. If I knew you before, let's get through this and see what happens. Now that I'm on the other side of it, okay, I'm looking for healthy people because I'm healthy. And, one of the obstacles that we have when we're healthy is, how do I know that they'll stand by me no matter what if bad shit doesn't take place? How do you know? Oh, if it's love, it will. If it's love, it will. I love how valuable people get with friendships, to a point where later in the apprentice stages of skill development, this does not happen. Later, this happens, where people become very It's I'm going to throw away friends all the time. You fucked up. I'm throwing you out. And then we swing the other way. I'm going to hold on to you no matter what. And then you get into this point where there's this nice balance, this integrated balance of, okay, I'm just going to put up some boundaries and I'm going to distance myself, and I'm not going to throw you away, but you're also not going to be close to me either. And that's really where you find out who a person is. That's really it right there. That's when you see a person. That's when you know who they are. Their true colors come out right in that space. That's what I like to call the true color space, is when you throw out a boundary, you get to see who someone is. And 3 times I have given this person boundaries. And every time she has been aggressive, she's lashed out. And I'm just like, no. And yeah, it's really, and that's when you realize that the boundary is sufficient. You don't have to cut out a person because the boundary is sufficient. The boundary really is sufficient. Yes, codependency is when you disintegrate. There's no nourishing growth. You are not a better person in codependency. I can't remember what I said prior. That made me go, that's not logically correct. Let me fix this. But that's definitely it, is they don't make you a better person. It's definitely a feeling of urgency. It's a feeling of not panic, desperation. It's a feeling of desperation, survival. That's when it's codependent. Yeah. So when you, yeah, fleshing all of this out is really, when you are articulating what you need for relativity, you are centering the whole thing around truth. So you have that relatability to others. And that's just it, is when they are nourishing you for growth, you are moving toward truth. And if you're not moving toward truth, then you're moving toward not truth. And not truth is lie. It's called a dichotomy. It's not an opposite, it's a dichotomy. And suddenly you have somebody they'll talk to you. And when you have this defined truth and you can hear people, and they're not even using logic to even build complete sentences or a string of sentences that is even relatable to what you understand love to be. This is something that I say to people a lot, is there's 3 definitions of love. One of those is actually true. The other 2 definitions are not at all what love is. But the 3 definitions that people use for love is nourishing to grow. Nourishing to grow. The other definition is love is being needed. This is how narcissists, actually, this is how empaths define love. And the other one is love is needing people, which is why a narcissist will say, but I need you, which is their way of saying, but I love you. That's not love. That's narcissism. And those are the 3 definitions of love. 2 of those is narcissist love, and the other is true love. So true love is nourishing to grow. And narcissist love is being needed or love is needing others, which is why the narcissist says, but I need you. That isn't love. You know, my partner hated the word need being involved with love. And when I first met him, I didn't understand it. And he taught this to me. He was like, no, he taught me this. He was like, there is no need in love. And I didn't understand him for the longest time, but he was adamant. I said, okay. And my partner is one of those persons where I could feel he was smarter than me, wiser than me. So by default, I listened to him and I learned from him because, hey, if you're smarter than me, why would I not listen and learn from you? So I did. And that was something he was adamant about. Love is not about need. And it was so backwards from anything I'd ever heard. It was so backwards from everything I'd ever heard. And it took me a long time to realize this. When you have somebody who walks into your life intimately or anyway, and they sit down and they say to you, love is nourishing to grow. It is not needing other people. That's narcissism. And a narcissist's bitch is being needed by others. That's the narcissist's bitch. But either you're the narcissist or you're the narcissist's bitch. Because a narcissist taught you that love is needing you. And that is the first logic. It is the first logic. It is the logic that we learn the very first thing in life. The first logic is, what is love? And if you were born to a narcissist, then you were taught that it's either being needed or it's needing others, depending upon how you learn that lesson. But true love is nourishing someone to grow. Nourishing to grow. And no matter how many times I've gone through the logic of that definition, it keeps coming back over and over again to, this is truth, this is love, this is logic. And suddenly I could sit back and see each and every situation where someone had lied. This isn't a friend. This is a friend. This is not healthy. This is not nourishing me to grow. And suddenly it was does this nourish you or doesn't it? And if it doesn't nourish you, if it does not make you a better person, how does that feel? Look at your entire life now and look at all the times, list them down on a piece of paper. When were the times where you were nourished to grow? What did it look like? What did it feel like? Because that's love. If you were not nourished to grow in that moment, if you did not grow with that person, well, there you go. That's not love. And when I did that, I was able to immediately see every lie. Because the next thing that followed was the hypocrisy and the lie, this is love, when it wasn't. It's literally the logical fallacy, not love is love. And that's the very first logical fallacy that people get. Not love is love. So then they get that catch-22 and they spend their whole life trying to figure life out and they can't. And they're getting further and further away and they're disintegrating and they're miserable. They're mentally ill. And it's all because they don't know that love is nourishing you to grow. And it all comes down to, which was the first three logics that you learned in life? Was it true love or was it narcissist's garbage hypocrisy? So if you learn the hypocrisy, your foundation is hypocrisy. Literally, your logical line is now hypocrisy because it's not love. So I built my entire logical line off of love. So did my partner. So now I've got myself and my partner. And I'm watching the way the two of us had lived. And I'm like, wow, completely different lifestyle, completely different mindset, different standard, different quality, different boundaries, different everything. And the things that we have in common is self-preservation comes before all else. And it should be that way. Your self-preservation should come first. And suddenly, oh, the other thing is the assertiveness. We have a solid assertiveness, a healthy assertiveness, where we will be logical, honest, truthful, assertive. And a lot of people look at that and go, oh my God, you're assholes. There's no insecurity. Oh, there's no insecurity. There is no insecurity. Meanwhile, if your entire logic is built off of hypocrisy, that invalidates the entire chain. That literally cancels everything out because it's hypocritical. It's built off of a not truth. So now the whole thing's going to unravel until you correct the first truth, which is, what is love? After that, self-preservation and self-authority. And that's really it. That's it. We're back to the 12 ethics again. We're back to the 12 ethics. Yeah. So thank you. And may the kindest of words always find you.